So next, who am I? So this is the about section of your profile. And again, this is really key as well. So I'd say the headline and the about section are two of the most key sections that you've got to worry about. It's a bit like on your CV. It's a bit like your kind of profile and your sort of skills sections are really important. So you've got to think about, what does my next manager want to see in order for them to want to kind of pick up the phone, you know, message you through LinkedIn? What do they need to say? Often we kind of tell people what we want them to know, because we're really proud of certain things that we've done in our careers, and that's great, but that doesn't, you know, help the manager. The manager, if you're looking to work in, I don't know, say customer service, they want to know what experience you have of managing of working with customers. They want to know all about your customer experience and how good you are at relationship management and all that kind of thing. Possibly targets. Often when you work in customer service, you have to phone a certain number of customers each day or whatever. So it's that kind of thing you're thinking. And again, you can use job descriptions, job adverts to sort of help you think about, what do people want to know from me about my experience. So you're always making sure you've got those core skills in there, those keywords that, you know, and a call to action. So the call to action would be something like, if I sound like someone who can, I've written it down because I knew I wouldn't remember. If I sound like someone who can add value to your organization, I'd love to have a conversation. You can contact me on and then include your contact details. It's fine to include your contact details. You might just want to put an email. You might want to put all your details. Your details are on there anyway, but they are hidden and you've chosen what you want to include. It's just making it a lot easier for the person to kind of pick up the phone rather than try and click on another area to find your details. So but yeah, say, you know, I'd love to have a chat with you if you're interested, you know, in my profile, and so give me a call on whatever you want to do. But calls to actions, even though it seems very kind of out there and obvious, it actually really works. As a small business, marketers are always telling us you've got to put a call to action on your, if you post on LinkedIn, you've got to put a call to action so that people actually do something. What do you want them to do? So you're thinking, what do I want people to do when they read my about section? And these are other things that you can include in your about section. How many years experience you have in a particular field or industry. If you're changing careers, you know, probably less relevant to include. That depends whether there's lots of transferable skills. But I think it's always good to sort of show that you've got experience, because I think there are a lot of transferable skills that you can show in anything you do. What you're passionate about. I feel that LinkedIn is kind of a little bit more relaxed than a CV. So on a CV, it's quite formal. On LinkedIn, you can be a little bit more kind of, this is who I am, sort of show them who you are. A lot of people just put a couple of lines in the about section and they're missing a trick. We want to know who you are. And so I'm going to jump on Stuart just because I talked to him on Friday. You know, if you want to work in sort of outside in the outdoors, you kind of want to explain to people that you're passionate about that, and that, you know, you've got it, you don't have to be all, you know, businessy. I know it's a business network and I've said don't put a picture of you on the beach, but you could say that I like to go, you know, be on the beach. If you were that person, you can say that you're passionate about, you know, X, Y, and Z. Because I think it just gives people a bit more of an insight into you as a person. It does make a difference what you're looking for. So I'll show you my about section, which is a little bit different because I'm a small business. So mine is much more chatty than maybe if you're going for a really senior corporate role, it might be much more formal. Like I've worked with a finance director. He's kind of probably, you know, he kept his quite formal. If you're wanting to work for like a small startup, it might be a bit more kind of, yeah, sort of chatty and friendly and stuff. And as I say, if you wanted to set up your own business, you've got a bit more freedom as well. But definitely show them who you are. Some people write stories. It's up to you how creative you are. It's not the easiest thing to do. So, but it certainly gets you noticed. Of just there was a lady that I actually contacted because to tell her that I thought her about section was amazing, and I didn't know her. I thought it was great. And she was like, oh, I was going to delete it. I wasn't sure about it because she was new to LinkedIn. I was in it made me sit up. It had all the key ingredients. She told a story about how her manager had told her that she was, she was really setting herself a big task here. And, she said how she achieved the task. She included lots of figures in there about how she was an event manager. She included loads of figures about how many delegates she'd worked with, so that she was showing her experience. It was an 800 delegates I was working with. Great, you can organize an event for 800 delegates. She was talked about how many thousands of pounds she'd made. She also talked about her passions for what she was doing. She talked about her soft skills that she had. She was great. She loved organizing. She was very, she always kind of had great time management. So she put everything in there that she could, but as a story. And it was really good, because so many people just put some really dry facts about themselves, and then it stood out, and that's what you want to do. You want to stand out. But don't, if you're not a writer, I know that can be hard. So we just go, let's talk, have the experience, make sure they know your passions. What have you done for past employers? Why are these people that are looking at your profile, why should they employ you? Not because you've done this task and you've done that task. It's like, you've done a task, and what did it do for the company? So everything nowadays, people want achievements. They don't want tasks. That's the old days. That's 20 years ago on a CV or whatever. Now they want to see how you've contributed, and they can then see how you would fit into their organization and the difference that they would make. And have you got any professional achievements that you're proud of? Yeah. Good. Shout if you've got any questions at all. So I'm going to quickly go across again and just show you mine. But as I said, it's a bit different from kind of what I would expect you to do. But I'll show you where it is. So you would add profile section if you don't have one, and it's about here. Now mine I wouldn't be able to do anything because it says looking good. It's complete. So there you go. Thank you very much. And for me, so you need to use lots of white space, bullet points, that kind of thing. Now, I've used emojis. I don't really like emojis in LinkedIn, if I'm honest. I've used them, but I don't like them. But only because there is research that shows that emojis get people to read your profiles more. Now, it doesn't look very serious, businessy like. So for small businesses, and maybe if you're kind of in a creative field or whatever, I think emojis are fine. Otherwise, I would just use your bullet points. Now, because I'm a small business, I'm doing calls to actions and stuff. I'm getting people to think about what's their situation that they're in. So I'm a bit different. But you can see that I'm using lots of white spaces. I've got my contact details on there, and then I've made it a bit more personal. I've talked about me so that people, if they want to work with me, they can see who they're working with. So I've thought about who's my audience, and I'm writing it for my audience, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to write it for whoever your audience is. And experience and skills. Okay, so this section is relatively straightforward, the experience section anyway. Basically, what I often tell people, whether it's right or wrong, is that just copy and paste from your CV, really, your experience. But it depends how your CV is. the good thing about LinkedIn is you can include all of your experience on LinkedIn. There's lots of space. It's not like you have to restrict it to the 2 pages like you do on your CV. So you can put all of your experience back until the day you started, if you want to. Some people don't like people to know their age, and that obviously, the more you put on there, the more you're showing your age. So it's kind of, it's up to you, but you can put all of your experience on there. And again, I would use, lots of nice bullet points, lots of white space, just really clear. And again, we're thinking about achievements. We're thinking about, what your target audience want to hear when you're talking to them, not what you want to tell them. And skills section. So be selective. And again, I will come and show you this section. Be selective. It's really tempting. There's 50 different skills you can choose on LinkedIn. And some people say choose all of the skills. And I would say, how can anybody be really capable in 50 different skills? I think that, to me, that's just a load of skills that you've chucked onto your profile, and it's not telling me what you're particularly good at. So I would say no more than 20, and probably about 12 to 15 is a good number to put on there. So yes, don't overdo it on the skill section. So I'll show you these sections now. Right, so again, you're going into the add profile section if you haven't got anything on there. So that is that's your key thing. And background is where you want to click on to put your work experience, to put your education in. So you need to put your education, any kind of certifications, but also your volunteer experience. And as Amandeep said, it's really important actually to put your volunteer experience. It's really good, especially if, and I'm going to jump on Stuart again, especially if you've got some really great volunteer experience like you have, that's quite relevant to what you want to go into. Definitely include your volunteer experience in there. And then the skills section, again, you can add your skills. Now I've already got my skills, so I'm going to go down to the section here. So you can see this is all my experience there. I've got my education, and I did a course, so that's come on there. And then I've got some volunteer experience on there. And here is your skills and endorsements. So let's go into here. So here are your skills. Now, a few years ago, they decided they were only going to show your top 3 skills to everybody, and they would have to click more in order to see more. So you really have to think about what are the top skills that you want people to see about, what are the ones that are really relevant to the career that you are going into, and make sure. So blatantly, I've chosen coaching because I'm a coach. And then these are probably my 2 most popular areas. So, and that's the only thing they have: CV review. They don't have CV development, they have CV review. So I've put that, and interview preparation. So if you want to swap and change and make different ones, if I wanted to put recruiting up there, for example, I can't do anything because I've already got 3. So you have to unclick one of these onto the little green drawing pin. You unclick it, and then you would click on recruiting, and ping, it goes up there. And then if you wanted to change the order, if you particularly wanted them in a different order, you can go on these little lines at the side, and you can move them around so that I've got recruiting at the top. So that's how you do that. And are you sure you want to discard them? Yes. And here is where you add a new skill. So if you wanted to add some new skills, you would add them there. Now you can get endorsed, and you can ask people to endorse you. I'm a bit like, it's good to have some endorsements, it is, but I wouldn't get too hung up on it. Used to be a massive thing, endorsements, like everyone was endorsing each other. But actually other areas that are more important than endorsements. I mean, this guy, Ryan Matthew, don't know him, have no idea who he is. He wanted to connect with me. He's a coach of some sort. He wanted to connect with me. He looked interesting. I decided to connect. And then he decided to endorse me. That's very nice. But actually, that completely shows why I don't think endorsements are a very good thing, because he has no idea how good my coaching is. And yet, you know, he's there and he's showing. So it's not what I think is more important, and really, really can't recommend this enough. See what I did there? Is the recommendations. So obviously it's a small business, I've gone a bit crazy and I've got like loads, but it's, you know, try and see if you can get recommendations from old colleagues, old managers, other people you've worked with in the past, because for me the person has to be real, because they've you know, they're kind of on LinkedIn and you can't kind of fake it sort of thing. And they've got to, and if they're going to write you a recommendation, they've got to know a bit about what you do, rather than just clicking on a button that says, you know, they endorse you. So, and it kind of gives it, again, it makes your profile look more loved. It shows that somebody rates you. And that's really good if a prospective employer is looking, and they will look at these recommendations and think, oh, is he or somebody that I want to employ? If you've got a lovely recommendation on there, then they're more likely to think, oh, great, you know, especially if it's like your old manager or whatever. You can ask for a recommendation. So if you want to, I usually ask people directly, but you could email them and then send them the link or whatever. But you know, it's fine if you know them well enough. I always think it's a bit cheeky to just randomly send a recommendation, but having said that, you can. So you would be doing this, the recommendations you would be doing under additional information. They do love to hide things. It's additional information, and all they've got under there is request a recommendation. So why don't they call it recommendations? But it's because they used to have more stuff under there that they've taken out. But so you can request a recommendation, and then you go through a process of who do you want to ask. They have to be on LinkedIn, obviously, and you can personalize the invitation. So if you wanted to do it on LinkedIn, but I would personalize it and say, look, you know, I'm just sort of new to LinkedIn and I'm looking to build my profile and I'm looking for a job or whatever, and would really help my job search if you gave me a recommendation. And you can even tell them what you want them to write if you've got that kind of relationship with them. So and then before I move on to how to use it, there's also this accomplishments section as well. Oh, by the way, sorry, just on recommendations, if you don't like the recommendation, you don't have to, you can either sort of not accept it and not put it on there, or you can hide it. So, you know, if they've kind of written a rubbish recommendation that you don't think does you any favors, then you don't have to put it on there. You know, sometimes if someone's written it really hurriedly and they've done loads of spelling mistakes and haven't really said much, then I've only had that once, and in the end I sort of thought, because I don't like going back. You can go back and say, oh, can you make changes, but it seems a bit churlish to me. It was just that the person wrote it quite quickly and there was loads of typos in it, and there's places where it didn't make much sense, as I said, and I was a bit like, I'm not sure that's the greatest, but you know. So under accomplishments, you have got loads of things. If you've done any publications, if you've got any patents, if you've taken any courses, if you want to highlight certain projects you've worked on, if you've got any awards. Languages is obviously a good one to highlight, because that's quite employable if you've got any languages. So just my advice is fill in as much as you can. On here is about you wanting to get to an all-star profile, but make sure you're always thinking about those keywords. What are the keywords that people would be searching for if they wanted to find someone in my field, and making sure that you're always including them wherever you can. And that's, you know, important to mention on the key skills as well, that you're choosing, you know, as I said, I might have said it already, but I can't say it enough. If you choose skills that are relevant to the career you want to go into, because they are in themselves keywords that people will be searching for.